We are going to look at the basics of lunar eclipse, how it is formed, and what you should look out for and what causes it. So I will start with what a lunar eclipse is. Lunar comes from a Greek word, lunar meaning moon, so it's more or less like we say the eclipse of the moon. So an eclipse is formed when actually you get either the moon to be shadowed, to get a shadow cast by the earth blocking the sunlight or the light from the sun, and then casting a shadow on the moon. Now tonight's eclipse will be a lunar eclipse, but which is the moon will be within the penumbra, which is not when a shadow is cast. You get to, this is the sun, you have the earth here, and then you get the shadows you cast here. So this is the penumbra, this is the umbra or the darkest. So if the moon lands or passes within the umbra, that means it will be able to get, so it should be darker, but most of the time we get what we call a blood moon. So tonight, from around 1:30 a.m., if you happen to be outside, either if you have gone for your weekend or if you can step out of your house in the night, if it is safe to do that, you look out, the moon will be in this area here, and that area, it will be darkish. So instead of seeing a bright moon, it will be darkish, and that will span from around 1:30 a.m. to around 3:30 a.m. So it will take pretty long time enjoying that darkness. It would be interesting to watch it from the beginning, see how it transits from being a bright moon and then transits into a darkish moon or a gray moon. It's only when the moon ends up within the umbra, if it is in the umbra, then you get a blood moon, and that is also a lunar eclipse. On the other hand, on the flip side, the solar eclipse, the solar coming from the Greek word for sun, is when the moon is a new moon and is in between the sun and the earth. And because it would be about 400 miles closer, then it makes it is a bit bigger by illusion, so it would cast a shadow on us, or let me say on earth. I meant we, where we stay. And if we happen to be within a region where, like when we had to go to Pakwachi, in Pakwachi we are looking for a part where the earth would be in the umbra, in the darkest region of the shadow cast on the earth. So basically, you tonight, it's more to experience and see how also you can get a lunar eclipse. Most people on September 1st, we were able to see the partial eclipse, which was almost annular here, but it was more annular to the people who were in Tanzania. And there are a couple of phenomena which are believed to be caused by the moon. The moon also is known to be a cause of rain because of the in physics we say that when there are any two bodies, if I have a body and when two bodies come near each other in the universe or in a gravitational field, if you take the Earth and the Moon, or the Sun and the Moon and the Earth, they get what we call gravitational forces. These gravitational forces are proportional to their masses, product of their masses, and the force becomes more when the two bodies get together. And or we can say the force reduces significantly when the two move away from each other. So about that, I just wanted to get something to use to demonstrate a few things instead of talking without having to write. So let's get to it. So like I said, you got if you got any two bodies in space, for example, you have the Earth and then you have the Moon. We have the distance between them. If you talk of the distance being mr, and this is the mass of the Earth being me, and the mass of the Moon being m, or we can say that of the Earth to be capital M, this small m. The force I'm talking about is proportional to the product of the masses and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. And that is simply because of the because of the more they come together towards each other, they experience a force. Even human beings, we tend to have a force between us when we get together. If you go to a party and you sit near somebody, your force of attraction becomes more because you are near each other. But if you saw somebody seated on the other corner, the force is tremendously not that much. So this gravitational force, if we say Fg, this is where you eventually get to say that F is equal to G, then m over r squared, and this is the universal gravitational constant. But that is not the point. I don't want to bore you with the physics. I want to concentrate on the concept of how the moon ends up influencing the rain. And we may not experience so much, being this is a full moon. In the weekend, like today, it was a bit cloudier. In the weekend, it may drizzle. But on February on the Feb 26th, we shall experience a partial solar eclipse, meaning that the moon would have been or would have come a bit nearer, and when it comes nearer, this becomes smaller. When you square it, it becomes even smaller, so meaning that the force will be greater, and then we shall get what we call the tides. If you go to a neve on the beaches, you get a lot of tides, even when the surrounding air is calm. You are not having any windy conditions. You keep seeing the water splashing on the sea, on the lake shores, going back, lake shores going back. And normally what happens is that this water doesn't go to the shore and go back to the lake all in totality. Some bits get washed on the shore and remain on the shore. And if it is a sunny day, like it is hot these days, you have a percentage of that always evaporating every time. So when you have such kind of situation, evaporation taking place, much of this water keeps going upwards as moisture, and as the geography states that the higher you go, the cooler it becomes. Then you end up having the condensation taking place. So when you have condensation taking place, normally on either, especially the new moon, we get 3 a.m. rains. And these rains normally, they tend to between 3, 4, up to 6 a.m. Now, if we were lucky to, or not lucky, but if we were to follow the laws of nature, if we were to cut the trees and plant them again, or plant more trees, if we were to make sure we have shrubs around our places, there are many hills around Kampala. You have some hills nearby in PG, and they're all naked. No tree there, no shrubs, just land which is just there. But if we had enough land cover, it means that every time it would rain, you have some water, and that water and soaked up either forest cover or shrubs, the same would again evaporate, and then you would have at least a week or two of some rain. And then the phenomenon, this phenomenon of the earth and the moon attracting each other and causing the tides would again replicate, because you have 2 weeks in between the new moon and the full moon. And if we were to be that careful, life would be as easy as that. That you have the full moon, you get some cloudy conditions or a drizzle. If your land cover is enough, it may be extended drizzle 2 or 3 times. If you were to do it again, so you find that you can be able to replicate such kind of conditions time after time, so that you are able to eventually have rains all throughout. But sorry for you, well, I say for at least here in Kampala, most of the shrubs are being cleared. The little forest reserves are also being depleted. And most people now, when they construct, they don't put any shrubs around or any um, flowers or trees around. They just chop everything. And if you chop everything, you are sure that you are not going to have any retention of water in the soil. Everything is cleared. So you find it rains, shines a little bit, everything is dry again. And the water went back or goes back to the channels, Nashua channel, and goes straight to the lake. We can only benefit that water. But if we had water collection points like we used to have swamps, having those forest covered, and even having trees, because if you were to go on Google Earth and look over Kampala, there are only 3 places, maybe 4, which are green. The most green one is the Kasubi tombs, and then you go to, you can stretch to the Lubidi, Kabaka's Lubidi, and then you have the golf course, but the golf course is kind of, stretchy, but it also, it's a green area, and partly because of the trees, the tree cover, partly Makerere is a bit greenish, it shows some freshness. And then all around all those places you have Kasubi Silam, Kisen Katang, then you jump Makerere, you go to Chikoni, and then you go to the other side of the Rubidi, and then the town, which is almost having no significant trees. And there is a lot of land along the road, in between establishments. You could put trees which are not dangerous, which are not going to grow tall and large. Even if it were fene or avocado trees, they will retain the water, and they do not pose any harm, but they would at least provide some cover. And maybe that would help us to get the retention of some water that may end up, how do I call it, evaporating again. So the cycle, if you went to like Nordic countries, at least I'm conversant with Norway, you would find that almost every day it drizzles. Why? Because every small part they have, even with the burden of always losing a number of tree shades every winter, but you find that in the summer it drizzles almost every day. When the shrubs have come back, the trees have regained, the temperate trees have regained their leaves and the like. When it comes to spring, then they plant the flowers again, and it becomes interesting how it drizzles every time, because this phenomenon comes, causes the small rains, and then after causing the small rains, they replicate themselves as another shake comes in, and this replicates itself time after time, and then you get the rains. So if we don't plant trees, then we shouldn't be dreaming about anything like sustainable rainfall. We shall be getting these small bits. Like this weekend, we may get a drizzle because of the on this other date here. That is the weekend of almost ending the month. So it's up to us to try as much as possible to make sure that we can get the tree cover or vegetation cover done. I talked of I would like to show you the lake. That is the lake. So what I was talking about is this one here. You have this shower and you have the water splashing all the time, and so as the water splashes on the shore, you get an evaporation. And then, because if you talk of like now, it is going to be full moon. That's why we shall get. That's the reason why we shall get the lunar eclipse. So meaning that you have the sun setting somewhere. You have this earth where we live, and then you have the moon going around us. So as the rays come from the sun, then they go to the heat here, and then eventually you get this whole side lit to get the full. But that's not what I'm trying to explain. What I'm trying to explain is how do the forces end up giving us the rain. Like I've showed you the cause of the tides at the lake. It means that you have this attraction here, this pulling here, and you have the pull on this other side. So you have almost during the full moon, some people would want to say that they cancel out these the spring tides would cancel out, but that would be after some time, after you have had the equal, shaking from either side. But you still experience tides around these places. So if you have any water body in the form of either you can have a lake when you are at the lake region, or if you are near the sea, or if you are at the ocean. So you would have people who have been in Mombasa, haven't been there. It's my next assignment to go see what is going on. They say that the tides can come to the shore depending on the season, the time of the year. They can stretch about either 5 kilometers inside the sea or the ocean, the Indian Ocean, and on another occasion within the year, they stretch back to the shore. Those cover up those 5 kilometers. I would love to go there and see, but I've been in Nairobi and I've seen the beach side. I've seen these, the way they splash on the shoreline and then splash back. And if you can see that stretch, you see that you have a lot of land. Sorry, not land, but the shoreline. And every time that water goes on, if it is hot enough, it keeps evaporating slowly, slowly, slowly. And as it repeats itself, you get evaporation taking place. Now, here you with this kind of full moon phenomenon or full moon scenario, you would only be sure of the either cloudy conditions or just a sprinkle. You can sort of say a tiny drizzle. But if you were to if you were to actually look at the other side of the other phenomenon of new moon, like the one which normally happens when we have a solar eclipse. We cannot have a solar eclipse if we have a new moon. We can only have a lunar eclipse if we have the moon in full phase. So it means that the moon will be the one in the middle. So I have now to change these two in order to talk of the new moon. So it means that we, the Earth, this should be, the Earth is bigger than the moon. So this will be the Earth, this will be the moon. So it means that both the sun and the moon are all pulling so you have a pull from the moon and also another pull from the sun. So the tides here for new moon, for new moon the new moon implies that there is stronger tides. So you have stronger tides, implying that you have a stretched shoreline because of the tides. And if you have this stretched shoreline along the tides along the shoreline, you end up actually having the forces. Due to the forces, you have more evaporation. So this evaporation will actually give you some stormy kind of rain. You have winds, a lot of winds. If you remember, there were a lot of winds during the super new moon of December and the super full moon of December. Super full moons is when the moon is nearer and appearing larger because of being nearer, or in what we call a perigee. In the perigee, when it is at the perigee point of its orbit. An orbit is when we look at the planet moving around the side of the sun, or like how the moon goes around the Earth. This is the Earth here, and this is the moon. The perigee is when it is nearer, it is at the perigee point. When it is far away, we call it at the apogee. And the moon, if the moon is at the apogee, we say that it is, or we actually find that it appears smaller, and we call it a mini moon. So there is what we call a mini moon and what we call a super moon, which is larger than the rest of the other. So on February 26th, the moon will be in between the Earth and the sun. We shall experience a very short-lived partial eclipse, and because of that nearness, we are very likely to have more rains. Sometimes you get issues to do with some earthquakes taking place, like the one which took place in Kakova near, that also affected Rakai region because of the annular eclipse. Because we have magma under in the earth crust, and anything that makes that magma get away with it and finds any crack, then it will make the crack to rumble, and when that crack rumbles, then you get what we call this other part here, this part, this one, yeah, the red one is the magma, which is just underneath, and that magma being underneath will cause it is always there. It is boiling underneath our Earth crust, below the soil and the like. So, because of the tectonic plates which form the Earth, if the magma overboils and gets where to pass, then it causes an earthquake. So, on the event that you have the moon, and the moon is nearer, and then it causes once it causes the strong gravitational forces, and then they shake a little bit of the any parts, like, you know, this other part of the West is in the Rift Valley, and the plates kind of you know, go a little bit on the side, and the magma tries to force itself out, then you get the earthquake. You get these tectonic plates freaking out, and then they cause a shake. And when they shake up, they end up having we end up having the earthquake. Okay. So on the 26th, we are going to have a partial eclipse, and tonight we are having our lunar eclipse. It is late in the night. This is tonight at from 1:30 a.m. to 3:30 a.m. It would be better to start from 1 a.m. so that you see the transition. And so that you're able to see how the transition from a bright moon, and the moon doesn't make its own light. The moon just reflects the light from the sun. So I'm just going to show you the phases of the moon, and then I will just explain how the seasons come about, and then I close the session because I can't be here all the time. But I will be, every Friday I'll be looking for a phenomenon that I can explain, and then try to explain it, so that if there's anyone who has got questions, can ask. And you can use this hashtag to get more information. There are other people around the world who are interested in the lunar eclipse, and they have posted a bit of information. So you just click on the hashtag lunar eclipse, and you should be able to be furnished with information by other people. So what I'm going to show you are the phases. We have the moon phases. So for example, we have the new moon, we have the waxing crescent, we have the first quarter, and it goes on and on and on. So you have the sunlight this side. So if the moon is between the sun, which is here, and the earth, which is here, you get the light which is reflected back this side, so you don't see much. It is a new moon, and that's why when you have an eclipse, which it takes place only when you have a new moon, you don't see anything in the skies until when something starts eating the sun, like some people used to say. And when it eats the sun, then we would have gotten an eclipse. Okay, so if there are any questions, anyone can, you can send them, post them, and when you post them, I will be able to look at them and when I'm having another session, I would be able to look at. So tonight, this is the time, because the sun is going to be gone by then in the night. The earth where we really shall be here, the moon will be somewhere there, the sun will be casting the shadow, and there are two shadows. There's one shadow which should be this one, which we call the umbra, and then there is another shadow which is this one, which is a penumbra. And penumbra, if you just make the moon dark, if you are within here, you would have what we call the blood moon. In other words, it looks reddish because of the shadow. And this can only take place early in the evening, just when it is coming on the horizon. You've been good viewers, where I didn't answer your queries. I hope there will be another time. Good night.